This is Jewish Spotlight, a weekly television program presented by Chabad Lubavitch of Long Island, featuring various aspects of modern Jewish life and Jewish culture. Now, here is your host, Rabbi Tuvia Tel.
Shalom. You know, over 3,300 years ago, the Torah was given on Mount Sinai to the Jewish people. But at that time, they had to write down exactly what God said to them at that time so that future generations would always know what God had said. But the art of being able to make a Torah scroll out of parchment and being able to take the quill and actually write the holy Hebrew letters is a special art that only certain people know how to do. They didn't have a stone like the Ten Commandments to be able to write it on stone for the rest of eternity. They wrote it on parchment. So today at the Jewish Spotlight, we're going to have a presentation for you that you're not going to forget. We're going to learn from an expert how to make parchment from animal skin and then how to write a Torah scroll. Without further ado, I want to introduce somebody who's done this literally all over America, has created a crafts workshop that children love to experience because it gives them hands-on feeling of what being Jewish is all about. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to the director of the Crafts Workshops program for the International Tzivot Hashem, the Children's International Movement, Rabbi Michael Albuquerque. Rabbi Albuquerque, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Rabbi Teldon, again. And today we're going to make almost a Torah scroll. Now, I know you guys don't think you can do it, but watch and see. First thing we need to know about a Torah scroll is that the Torah was given on Mount Sinai for a very important purpose, and that was to make the whole world into a holy place. And you can see that by a Torah. When you walk into the synagogue and you see a Torah scroll, which is made out of animal skins, what do? You all stand up. And if you get close enough to the Torah, what will you do? You'll reach out and give it a kiss. Now, it's made out of animal skins, right? If a goat walked into the room, would you go ahead and start kissing the goat? Or standing up for a goat? You wouldn't. Obviously, something changes when we use the animal skins to make a Torah. Or to make a mezuzah. Like when you walk through a door and there's a mezuzah on the door, what do? Touch it and give it a kiss. So there's something special about that. So that Hashem, God, was trying to show us how to use the Torah to make the world a very holy place. And to make the world a holy place, we need to follow very specific instructions. And all those instructions are in the Torah. Now let me show you. First thing we need to know is we have to have a kosher animal skin to make a Torah from. See, in the old days, when God told Moses to make a Torah, Moses didn't know what a Torah was. So Moses said, you mean like on papyrus, like the Egyptians used to write? And God said, no, because, see, papyrus is made out of leaves, and it'll fall apart very easily. It won't last all those hundreds of years that a Torah lasts. So Moses said, then what? Write on pyramids, like the Egyptians used to do? And God said, no, you can't take pyramids anywhere. You need to do it on parchment. And Moses just couldn't figure it out. What does God mean? And so God said, you know what? I'll show you the Torah. And since Moses was a very special person, he was a tzaddik, he could look up into the heavens and see the Torah the way it is really up in heaven. And he saw black letters made of fire, written on a white sheet of fire and surrounded by fires. And that's the way the Torah looked. And that's why we have to write the Torah on white parchment with black ink, and we have to do it by hand. Now, the first thing we need to do is find a kosher animal. And to find a kosher animal, let's see if we get a kosher animal. You guys know what animal this is? It's a cow. Is it a kosher animal? Does it have split hooves? Yes. Does it have split hooves? Yes. And it's also choose the cut. That makes it kosher. If we have a cow and we need to make a Torah, can we just peel the skin off it while it's still alive? No. The only time we can kill the animal is when we need to use its skin to sustain a human life. So once the animal's been properly slaughtered, hopefully the kosher way, then we can take the skin and we can start making parchment. Now, what is the problem with a skin of an animal? Here you see a skin of an animal, but it's got hair all over it. Have you ever seen a Torah with hair on it? No, nobody would ever be able to carry it around or pick it up. It'd be too heavy. And besides, it looked pretty gruesome, wouldn't it, in shul? So we need to take the hair off. Now, this can only be done by someone who is trained and someone who is Jewish. That person has to take this animal skin and do it special order and prepare it to make parchment, which is called cloth. Can everybody say cloth?
Cloth.
Cloth. Very good. This piece of animal skin will have the hair removed by using a process of soaking. That soaking process is done with something called calcium hydroxide. You mix it with water, you soak the skin in there, and little by little, what happens? Have a look. Two things are happening here. One is that the hair is starting to fall off. You see how the hair is already gone from this area? And what else is happening to the skin? What color is the skin now? White. And that's exactly what we want for there to happen to the skin. Once the skin turns white and we get all the hair off, the next step is we need to stretch it out. And to stretch it out takes quite a bit of work. And you'll see how this particular frame has stretched out this skin very tightly and continues to stretch it. There's no more hair. It's now ready to be made into a sheet, a yiri'ah of a Torah scroll, or if you're going to be bar mitzvah boys putting on tefillin, the little parchments that go inside of the tefillin are also made out of parchment, and also a mezuzah. A mezuzah also has to have a parchment. This one is missing its parchment, but this is what you have, it's what we put inside the mezuzah, which is the real parchment that says Shema Yisrael in it, and not just the case. Finally, once you cut down all these skins that you have to make for a Torah scroll, and it takes many, many dozens of skins, then the sofer begins to write, the scribe begins to write the Hebrew letters on the parchment, and after that, they're all sewn together, and we end up with a
real Torah
scroll of the words of Torah. And this is obviously done not by a laser printer, but by hand with a quill, just like you guys are going to do very, very soon. How would you guys like to make some of your own parchment? But I warn you, it's something else.
Rabbi Belberkirk, we're just making the final adjustments here and getting this skin in place. We have here a real goat skin, and I'm ready to see the next stage of this.
All right, now we can make this goat skin into real parchment. It's a kosher animal. It's a goat that chews a cud and has split hooves, and it's been slaughtered the right way, the kosher way, so it didn't feel a whole lot of pain, but now we got to get rid of all this hair. This skin has been soaked in the calcium hydroxide so that all the hair is very loose. All you got to do is use some of these tools we're going to give you guys, and come on up, and
okay, come on, everybody.
And let's start removing the hair.
Let's see you go to it.
Now you have to bear down as hard as you can.
Use all your muscles.
Get rid of that hair, because a Torah scroll that has a single hair on the other side of the writing is not kosher for reading in the synagogue.
That's up
You've
and
got to
down.
remove every bit of it. Notice how the hair is coming off, everybody tell them, pretty easily, without too much work. Some people thought that we'd have to shave it. It's not a shave we have to do. It's rather it's a lot of work there. Yeah, come on.
Rabbi Albuquerque, this skin smells a little also. I think it needs some aftershave lotion.
Oh, well, animals don't use that much. At least not yet. But just bear down like that and start getting all the hair off. Make sure you get the stuff off the edges, because the more hair we get off, the more the parchment we'll be able to use later on, because, as I said, if you leave any of the hair on, the rabbi who's got to write on this thing, the scribe, the sofer, will not want to use it. He really will not want to use it if there's any hair on there. In fact, we're not going to write on the hairy side. We're going to be writing on the inside of the parchment, and the reason for that is because the animal protects itself from the elements, from cold and rain and snow, with its hairy side. So we also want to protect the letters of the Torah that we write. So that's why we write on the inside. But nevertheless, the outside has to be very carefully cleaned of any hair. And once we've done that, we're ready to sort of move along here. Can you guys work a little harder?
You guys are
My
doing great.
goodness. Yeah, Tzivas Hashem soldiers. Come on.
You think we can go into business?
Well, we're working on that. We're going to work on getting these kids a job for the summer. Right now they have school, don't they? You guys have school now?
Kids, don't quit your day job.
Now you'll notice something else happening as you're getting the hair off, which is after you take the hair off, you're also getting some other substance coming off. Have a look at this. What is that? Ooey, gooey, grimy stuff. That's oil. The skin, the animal skin, is oily when it comes from the forest. So the point is parchment that has oil on it, as Rabbi Teldon very well knows, will not allow the letters that are later written on it to stay on there. That's why Rabbi Teldon always goes and tells people, check your mezuzahs every year. Check your tefillin. We have to make sure all the letters are kosher, are still on there, because sometimes all the oil doesn't come off the parchment, and then what will happen is the letters will just simply flake off over time, or when you're busy putting the scrolls away and they're being tightly wrapped up, or the mezuzahs, or the tefillin and so on. So we have to make sure that all the oil is out of there. So everybody bear down real hard, and let's get all the oil off of that. There you go. Switch your tools upside down. You'll see how the oil comes off much more easily. There you go. And the one who has a teardrop tool, use the back of the teardrop tool like this. And see how that comes off? Just pull it straight down. That's it. Just pull it straight down. You'll get it off. You guys are doing a fine job. And that does not look like the same animal we had before. There you go.
Look at that.
Yeah. Go like this. See that? See that? Just comes right off. Rabbi, tell them, isn't that amazing?
Kids are doing a great job.
All right. We're going to have parchment. Now, this parchment is soaking wet still. It's going to take quite a while for it to dry. So I think we're going to need to give it some time to allow it to dry, because we have to go to the next operation here to make this into real parchment.
Okay, thank you, children. We're going to go into the next stage, all right?
Okay.
Let's go.
Very good.
Okay, so we've taken out all of this. We have all the hair off. We've dried it. Now, what's the next step, Rabbi?
Well, the next step is stretching it. But this takes a lot of different steps. Number one, you let it dry out. Then you got to stretch it out some more. And then you let it dry out again, and you stretch it some more. The idea is to get the parchment very thin and very, very, very straight and flat. We don't want any curving, any bumps to come up in there. As a matter of fact, one of the best kinds of skins to stretch is a deer skin. A deer skin is a kosher animal, comes from a kosher animal, and when you stretch a deer skin, it stretches and stretches, and you can keep stretching it out. You can cover this entire frame with a deer skin. And in fact, the land of Israel is called Eretz Tzvi, the land that's compared to a deer. The reason for that is because a deer skin stretches so much that when the Jewish people come to the land of Israel, the borders of Israel, the tiny little country Israel, stretch out. And then when people leave, it reduces itself again. So the land of Israel, when Moshiach comes, and all the Jewish people will come back, will stretch way out just like a deer skin does. Now, after you've stretched this thing out and got it nice and thin and it doesn't buckle, then the next step is to sand it down. When you write with a pen on paper, the ink usually goes inside of the paper. It gets absorbed. That's why you can't erase ink off of paper. You end up tearing off the paper. But parchment doesn't absorb the ink. The ink just lays on top of it. So we need to sand the parchment very well with these sanding blocks that I'm going to give you. There, take one.
Okay, everybody, come on.
And
please.
what we're going to do is we're going to sand this thing down really, really well,
Jason.
so that we get rid of all these extra pieces of hair and pieces of... Now remember also this is the inner part of the skin. This is the inner part of the parchment, the side that we write on. So it's very important to really polish it up really well. Bear down hard. And bear down, there you go, bear down, and get all the suede out of there and keep it moving. Try to go in one general direction as you're sanding. That way when you write on it, you'll have some fibers sticking out for the ink to attach themselves to. Now, I know there's a lot of work for you guys, but it's got to get done, and I know it takes a long time, sometimes 3-4 hours to just get this thing started. A regular sofer will spend hours and hours getting his parchment really worked out properly. Keep moving that sanding block around. Can you guys go any faster? Come on, guys. What do you think this is? You're not getting paid by the hour here. You know, some people might wonder, is it really necessary to do everything by hand? Well, some people think so, but I like to think that we can use a little bit of modern technology at times, because it sure gets tiring, doesn't it? To keep doing this back and forth.
Working hard.
Oh, this is really, it gets hard if you have to do it all by hand. So that's why nowadays some sofrim like to bring along a really neat little tool I like to use. Can you guys move out of the way a second and let a pro go to work? All right, let's see how this works. Bear down, 2 hands. 2 hands, 2 hands. There you go. That works a lot better, doesn't it? There you go. Reach way up, way up there. Way up like that. Good. See all that dust? Oh my goodness. All right. Keep moving it around. All right, see that? Keep moving to the top a little bit. All right. Okay, good. Wasn't that a lot easier than doing it by hand? Yeah, but still, it's good to get some real effort in there. It's a mitzvah to do this, so we enjoyed it. Now, Rabbi Teldon, we're basically ready. This piece of parchment will have to be cut down off the frame, and then we'll have to put lines in it so that we'll be able to write in clear, straight lines and columns, because the Torah has to be written very, very carefully. And we can use this parchment not only for a Torah, but also for a mezuzah, for tefillin, for a Megillah, all these very important holy objects that we bring Kedusha into, we bring holiness into. And if you guys want to do your own writing with your quill, make your own
Maybe we'll
ink.
write our own name?
All right, Rabbi Teldon, I think we can
Okay, I think we're ready
prepare
to
this
go.
in a few minutes, but I think we need some ink now.
Okay, then let's go make some ink.
Let's go.
Okay, children, now we made the parchment, we cleaned it up, right? We're ready to write. What happens though? If you sit down to a parchment, you have to have something to write with. So, Rabbi Albuquerque, he's going to pull something out of his hat, and I'm sure he's going to have a suggestion of how we're going to write. Rabbi Albuquerque.
My hat? Really? Okay, the next thing we need is ink. But you know what? We are on television, aren't we? What do you always see on television? When you come to the best part, you get a commercial. We're going to do a commercial.
Uh-huh.
How would you like to be part of a commercial? Stand right over there. This is going to be a Shabbat candle commercial. Do you light Shabbat candles by any chance? You do? Great. Let me see you light a match here carefully. And let's light this Shabbat candle. Careful not to burn yourself. Can you light that candle? Now, you always light the candle first, and then what do? Then you say the blessing, right? A lot of times, we do a mitzvah, but first we do the blessing. In the case of lighting candles, first we light the candle, and then we do the blessing. We put our hands over our eyes, and we concentrate, and we say a bracha, right? And then we wish all the good things we want from Hashem, from God, to give us, and then we welcome the Shabbat to come into our home.
Good Shabbos.
And then what do? Then you prepare to go to shul, don't you? You look at yourself in the mirror. Hey, how's your hair look? That's a good mirror, isn't it? You can see your whole self. You got any makeup on? You don't put on makeup, do you? All right. Now, what we're going to do is kind of tricky. Hold on to the mirror and come down here. And let's see if we can touch this mirror to the candle. Don't try this at home, kids. Yeah, parents might get upset. And let's have a look at what happened to the mirror now. Well, what is that big black spot on your nose? What is that? Guys, you guys know what this is? It's carbon for ink. It's the black dye that we use to make ink. Remember, what color does the ink have to be to write the letters of the Torah? Black. And to make it black, we use carbon. In fact, now that we've got this commercial out of the way, we can actually continue with some real carbon. You want to help me out with this? Stand right there. You're going to use a mortar and pestle set. Put on some gloves, if you don't mind. Here's some gloves for you. You're gonna get your hands a little bit dirty otherwise. And let's take some carbon. This is real powdered carbon, a nice heaping teaspoonful. Now don't try to taste this. It does not taste good, I assure you. We'll put it inside the mortar and pestle.
It looks like chocolate creams.
Yeah, well, now that we've got the carbon in there, we're going to use a bit of gum arabic. Gum arabic makes the ink very sticky, so it'll stick to the parchment.
So it's a liquid?
And it's a liquid, and we're going to put a few drops of it right in there. Not too much, because we don't want it to get too sticky. And then we're going to put a few drops of water. Can you take this beaker and pour some water in there? Just a few drops. Just a few drops. Just that's it. Now start smushing that together until it gets really, really mixed well. Mix it up. Scoop it around like that and keep mixing it. There you go. Now the other thing we need to write a Torah with is a quill, a kulmus, a feather. Why do we use a feather and not a metal pen? Because a metal pen could be used for other things that are not so good. The Torah is called the Torah of life. The Torah is supposed to lengthen the days of a person, give him life. Metal has often been used for bullets and guns, and those things don't lengthen people's lives, they shorten it. And so what we do is we use the feather of a kosher bird, not a non-kosher bird, but a kosher bird. And again, can we take the feather off the bird while the bird's still alive?
No, we
can't.
don't do that.
We must make sure that we take, let's see, how's that ink doing? Can you mush it some more? We have to make sure that the actual bird feather is prepared properly to be written with. And let me see if I can get one of my trusty old Boy Scout knives here. Now, kids, don't try this at home. Go to your friend's house. No, don't try it at home at all. Go to an expert and he'll help you. You sharpen the quill very well until you get a point like this, because it's just nothing more than a hollow straw. And then you break the very top of the quill so that you have a split in there, and you're basically ready to write. That's assuming that we've got some pretty good ink in there. How are you doing? Add some more water, and that'll really get it going. And then each of you guys can take your own quill, and you'll be able to write on your own parchment that we made ourselves today. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Okay, excellent. We can now go to the table and let the kids sit down and do some writing on their own.
Okay, fine.
All right.
Okay, is everybody getting excited?
Yep.
I'm getting excited because now we're up to the real important part. We're going to actually learn how to write a Torah scroll. So Rabbi Albuquerque, please, show us
Okay,
the
guys.
first part.
The first thing is we're not going to write in English. Second thing is we're not even going to write in the regular letters that you learn in Hebrew school. There's a very special alphabet called Ksav Ashuris, which is a special kind of lettering you only find in a Torah scroll, in Tefillin, in a mezuzah, and a Megillah. And the way you make those letters with a quill is not very easy, so you need to really pay attention how to do this. First of all, a quill is nothing but more than a hollow tube. This is the back, and this is the front. Now notice if you really look very carefully at what it looks like, here, I'll enlarge it for you. You'll see that we're talking about a point. Have a look at your quill. It's got a split right there in the center, and it's got a high point and a low point. When you dip your quill in the ink, you'll pick up some ink that'll go right up along this split, and you'll be able to use this edge of the quill to draw different kinds of lines. If you lay the high point and the low point of the quill and drag along once you've inked on, you'll get big, thick letters, rather big, thick lines. And then if you go and use only the high point of your quill, you'll get very thin lines. And that's what's used to make these letters of the Aleph base. The Aleph in Ksav Ashuris, in Torah lettering and calligraphy, in Jewish calligraphy, this is a big, thick letter, so you're going to use a big inking on motion to do this. Whereas to make these thin lines and these little crowns that make the letters look like flamey letters, you're going to use a very high point of the quill to make those marks. Now, let me show you how you're going to write. First thing is, we're going to write a bet. Even though the bet is not the first letter of the Aleph Bet, it is the first letter of the Torah. Bereshit bara, in the beginning God created. To make a bet is very important because it's one of the simplest letters to learn from. And the way we're going to do it is like this. You're going to hold your quill. By the way, remember always to hold your quill like this. All right? And you'll first ink on, which means making a thin line like that. And then you'll drag that line over in a little bar. Then you'll come down below, ink on again, and drag that bar, and then connect the top to the bottom. That'll make your bet. Pretty simple, right? All right. The next letter I want you to make after that is going to be not a Dalet, but that's the beginnings of it, but a Hey. Again, you'll ink on, and then you'll give the leg and a little Yud, which will make it base Hey for Baruch Hashem. It may seem kind of difficult at first, but let me show you how to make it easier. I'm going to give each one of you a piece of parchment paper. What color is this? White. It looks white, but watch what happens if you put it against this calligraphy sheet you guys are going to be using, and you can see right through, and you'll be able to trace each letter very nicely. And at the end, people will think you really did a great job, which I'm sure you guys will do a great job anyway. After you're done writing a bet and a Hey, I want you to try to write your own Hebrew name, and then you're going to get a real surprise. Because with us we have Rabbi Yosef Cohen, who is a very, very talented sofer, a scribe, and he writes Megillahs, mezuzahs, tefillin, and soon he's going to write a Torah scroll. And he'll be able to write your name as an expert on a real piece of parchment for you to take home as a souvenir. You guys ready to get started? Yeah. Okay, everybody get your quill, dip it in the ink first, and then position your parchment paper right over the bet like that, and start tracing very carefully the letters. Now remember
which side to use.
These letters are holy letters, especially if you put these crowns on top. Those crowns hint at incredible secrets in the Torah. And in fact, Rabbi Akiva was able to learn from these crowns things that nobody else knew. And if you leave those crowns out, in fact, your tefillin won't be kosher. And if you ever look at your Torah scroll, you'll notice how carefully each letter is written. One of those small crowns can make the entire mezuzah, if it's a mezuzah, not kosher. It's sort of like the way a video card or some sort of computerized gadget you have. If it's missing one little wire, it wouldn't work. And the same thing with our Torah scrolls and our tefillin, our mezuzahs. If it's missing one letter, something is not perfect, it's not going to be properly made. In fact, Rabbi Teldon, we can now tell the children about this very important campaign that the children can participate in, since every single Torah has to be complete with all its letters. And we can actually ask the kids if they'd like to get an opportunity to actually write a Torah themselves.
That's right, because there's a special children's Torah where each one of the hundreds of thousands of letters is dedicated to one child around the world. And each one of you, and anybody in our audience also, would be able to have a letter in a Torah scroll. And what the Rebbe did many years ago was to initiate this special Torah in order that everybody should be able to be part of the mitzvah of writing a Torah scroll. Because not everybody has a chance to write the way you're writing, but everybody can do it by getting the registration form. And the Rebbe said it should be $1 per letter, which goes right towards the scribe writing the Torah scroll, and it's a tremendous, tremendous mitzvah. I'm sure, Rabbi Albuquerque, you've had many hundreds of thousands of children through Tzivos Hashem that have signed up in order to be able to have a letter, their very own letter in the Torah scroll. I think they send you a certificate saying that you have a letter in this particular portion and this particular sentence. Good.
In fact, as Torah is being written in, of all places, in the land of Israel, which is a very, very, very special thing. Whenever a mitzvah is done in the land of Israel, and this particular Torah that will include every single child that will sign up for it, all the children under the bar bas mitzvah age, will be able to be part of that Torah.
Rabbi Albuquerque, I think we have some real talent here.
This girl, she could even Esther Amalka. Didn't she write the Megillah, Rabbi? Look at this. These boys, look at that.
We're making progress.
Have you guys done this in Hebrew school before?
No.
No. Well, now you should write your name. Very good. Try your name out, and look at that. See if you can copy all the letters you need from this sheet, and you'll be able to trace them just below that hey. That Baruch Hashem. Start at the very edge, so you'll have plenty of room.
Good.
You guys have a future in writing Torahs, maybe, huh? Maybe you'll wait until you turn bar mitzvah first, huh? Ready?
So we're going to wrap up, and we're going to have everybody get their own name. But in the meantime, just to conclude, I want to just tell everybody that this is a very special mitzvah. Everybody should have their mezuzahs checked. Everybody should have their tefillin checked, because the scribe who's working here works all over the world. Not necessarily this scribe, but we have hundreds and thousands of scribes who are fulfilling this special mitzvah, making sure that everybody has perfect Torah scrolls and tefillin and mezuzahs. And in the meantime, everybody enjoy doing many, many mitzvahs, and we hope that you'll continue doing mitzvahs till Mashiach comes, and then we'll have so many more mitzvahs to do. We won't know what to do with ourselves. We'll have so many mitzvahs. Right, kids?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep on doing mitzvahs, and we're going to do not only writing of Torah, but we're going to learn a lot of Torah, because the purpose of writing a Torah is to learn all the meaning of the Torah itself. All right, say goodbye, everybody. Let's wave goodbye. Okay, take care. Shalom, shalom. Thank you, Rabbi Albuquerque, and thank you, Rabbi Cohn.
בשמחת הגיולו, הנה הנה מושיח בו. שישו ושמחו בשמחת הגיולו, הנה הנה מושיח בו. שישו ושמחו בשמחת הגיולו, הנה הנה מושיח בו. שישו ושמחו בשמחת הגיולו, הנה הנה מושיח בו. הנה הוא בו, מושיח צדקנו, הנה הוא בו, מפי רבי יומי